Hey, welcome back to the stash. I didn't expect this to be good, not with Nick Lowe still in charge, not after everything we've seen over the last few years. So no, I didn't jump into Amazing Spider-Man issue 1 with hope, because by now we know better. We've seen the promises, the dramatic trailers, the variant covers, the endless "this is the one that changes everything" marketing campaigns, and every time, it's the same story. A new number, a new mystery villain, a new editor's note telling us to be excited, but nothing really changes. The characters don't grow, the world doesn't move forward, and the writing, if we can still even call it that, just spins its wheels in the same shallow puddle issue after issue. One where every creative decision is made not out of love, but out of spite and sheer disinterest for the character. And now, here we are again, another relaunch, another new issue 1, another illusion of momentum. But this time, they're not even trying to pretend, because the Amazing Spider-Man issue 1 doesn't open with a bold new idea or a fresh perspective, but rather, it opens with a scene lifted straight out of Brand New Day, page for page, beat for beat. And right at that moment, you just know that somehow, things are going to get worse. So join us today as we go over the start of the brand new Spidey volume, The Amazing Spider-Man issue 1. Before we get into that though, I want to take a quick second to say that here at The Stash, we're trying to reach 11,000 subscribers before the end of the month. It's a huge ask, but with your help, I know we can do it. So if you like Spidey or just comic content in general, feel free to stick around and maybe hit that subscribe button. But anyway, with all that being said, let's jump right back into the video. Now this issue has a couple of backup stories, so I'll quickly get them out of the way. First off, we see Norman Osborn has called for a press conference, but the whole thing goes awry when a man from the crowd looking to get his revenge on Norman after the death of his wife tries to kill him. Norman, however, acts fast and manages to beat him with ease. He begins to brutalize the man for what he's done today until his mind drifts back to a conversation he had earlier with Spider-Man. This causes Norman to have a realization, a change within his mind. He stops this counterattack and calls for medical attention. Then he announces to everyone that originally he had planned to resign from Oscorp. But thanks to Spider-Man and today's events, he decides it's his responsibility to make amends. And so Norman declares that he's staying at Oscorp to atone for his sins. Now overall, I think this is actually a pretty decent backup story. You know, at least Norman is showing some actual form of character development, unlike some other people in this comic, but we'll get back to that later. Then after that, we travel all the way to Arizona, where a group of tourists are in for the surprise of their lives. An explosion erupts, the mountains shift apart, for the Hell Gate is open. But with that out the way, it's time for the main plot. So our story begins with a montage of Peter's failed job interviews. Each one just gets worse and worse. Peter even gets randomly cursed at by an employer. In fact, the entire reason he made it that far for the position was just so the guy could talk shit to his face. Anyway, after many unsuccessful attempts, Peter goes and visits Aunt May. While helping her put up a photo frame, he gets a call, because it turns out he finally has a job, because an old friend from middle school, Brian Naring, gave Peter a recommendation at Rand Industries. The next day, the two catch up at the place, going over old times, as well as the reason why he vouched for him in the first place. But then as Peter's about to meet his new boss, chaos erupts down in the streets of New York City. And unfortunately for Peter, it looks like he's gonna have to miss another opportunity to go and save lives. The Rhino is rampaging through a bustling street. Spidey swings in trying to halt his momentum, and after webbing his face, he lands a powerful kick. But Rhino keeps going, and so Spider-Man slams him with the truck. For a second, it seemed to do the job, until Rhino bursts out from underneath. But suddenly, he stops, his face goes completely pale, and then the Rhino collapses. Spidey goes to check his heart, but there's no pulse. Immediately he composes himself and begins to perform CPR to save the Rhino. Later at Kingsley Tower, Simon reveals to Roderick Kingsley that Spider-Man was successful in his attempt at saving the Rhino's life. But after Kingsley is alone, a mysterious figure crowded by shadows appears. It seems that in some ways they're working together, and after seeing Spider-Man get involved with Rhino's activities today, he deems him a threat to his plans. Therefore, Kingsley orders the shadowed figure to add the Wallcrawler to the list. Meanwhile, Peter and Randy are actually on a double date. Safe to say though, it's not going that well for poor Randy. On the other hand, for Peter, he is still trying to fix things with Shay, and it's just overall pretty awkward. But our story ends with Spider-Man doing some detective work in the home of the Rhino, until without warning his spider sense begins to blare. And before he has a clue on what's going on, all of his greatest foes have appeared, ready to kill Spider-Man once and for all. If you're struggling to even care about modern Spider-Man anymore, then this issue does absolutely nothing to change that. I am sick and tired of modern day The Amazing Spider-Man comics. I'm sick and tired of how they don't change, I'm sick and tired of how the people in charge hate the very character they work on, and I'm sick and tired after how all these decades we've gone back to reusing story elements beat for beat from the brand new day era because the writers and editors are so tapped for ideas. I mean, this issue literally opens by redoing a scene, almost page for page from ASM issue 546 or something. The same job interview setup, the same exact energy. But now it's stretched from 2 pages to even more, dragging it out like it somehow earns more weight through repetition. You know, that one moment kind of says it all for me, because this clearly isn't a new story, it's not even a continuation, it's just a recycled mess of half-remembered plot points from a time when Spider-Man was fully becoming creatively directionless. I mean, seriously, he's still looking for a job, he's still whining about that damn old Parker luck because, shocker, he had to run out of an interview to go save the day. What are we doing here? What is the point of telling this story for the 100th time if you're not going to say anything new? It's just so exhausting. You know how insulting it is to have read every issue of ASM, to have loved this character since birth, and to still see Peter stuck in this depressing cycle those in charge deem relatable? They really need a reality check because nothing about this Spider-Man is relatable. Genuinely nothing is. In fact, I relate to the married version of Peter over in Ultimate Spider-Man infinitely more than this underdeveloped man-child who sees himself as quirky.
Shut the fuck.
And I mean, Peter isn't a character anymore. He's literally lost every single aspect of his appearance and his nature that once used to make him who he is. Peter's identity has been diluted to 3 core traits that they just keep looping over and over again, from nerdy to socially awkward and to down on his luck. And my god, how shit is this design? I dare you to try and tell me with a straight face that this resembles Peter Parker at all, because it doesn't. And he hasn't in years because of this annoying synergy going on with the movies. Remember when Peter Parker actually looked like Peter Parker? When he had distinct features that made him recognizable within a crowd of people? Because Marvel clearly doesn't. God, even poor Randy can't catch a break. He's fallen victim to the editorial too. Like, I generally don't think it's a coincidence that his relationship with Janice has completely fallen apart. It's a symptom of something deeper. The problem with Amazing Spider-Man isn't just that editorial wants to keep Peter young and unable to show any signs of maturity nor hold a relationship to save his life, it's also the people steering this book seem fundamentally incapable of writing mature, healthy relationships no matter who the character is. There's clearly a bitterness to it, and a clear pattern that's plagued modern comics for a while now. Like, the men behind the scenes aren't just avoiding character growth, they're actively repulsed by it. Whether it's Peter, Randy, MJ, or whoever. Every meaningful relationship in this book either gets sidelined, sabotaged, or warped into some bleak, cynical mess. This isn't storytelling, it's projection, and the sooner we get these depressed, miserable losers out of the Spidey office, then maybe we can finally get back to how things should be. I mean, Mary Jane isn't even in this comic. She's too busy being Venom. God, every time I say that, I just question my entire life. I can't believe she's Venom. But anyway, over here in the main book, we're still persisting with Shay, the most recent love interest adored by Nick Lowe and quite literally no one else. She's not a character, she's clearly just a placeholder. She exists not because she brings out something new in Peter, or not even because there's a compelling dynamic there, but because the book needs someone to stand in MJ's place, while editorial keeps that door slammed shut. It's baffling. It's honestly baffling to me. What do they have against Mary Jane? Because rather than let Peter and MJ's story evolve into something emotionally mature or narratively fulfilling, they just keep shuffling in these one-dimensional flings that go nowhere. And we're meant to believe this is growth, that this is a new era for Spidey comics? Get the f*** out of here.
You're kidding. I mean, Jesus Christ.
At the very least, besides that horrible Peter Parker design, the art for the most part was actually quite good, especially the Spider-Man scenes. I feel like I need to give credit where it's due. And when it comes to Joe Kelly, you know, although he is a brand new day writer, he's definitely the best out of that rotten bunch. But with Nick Lowe still being a driving force for this comic, I'm not going to expect anything special, because in all honesty, I don't even know what this book is anymore. Because it's not Spider-Man, not the one that made us believe in something more, not the one who stood for heart, growth, love, failure, perseverance, all the things that made him real. And I hate how this comic focuses more on brand management rather than storytelling, because what we're left with is a comic that exists not because someone had something to say or because the people behind it loved and care about the character, but rather because at Marvel, legacy characters must be kept in a holding pattern forever. You can slap a number 1 on the cover, you can promise change, you can scream from the rooftops that this is a new era. But as long as the same people are calling the shots, as long as Nick Lowe is continuing to ruin this book, and as long as editorials see Spider-Man not as a character but as an IP to keep stuck in a stunted state of arrested development, nothing will get better. Not now, not next issue, not in 5 years, because Spider-Man is broken. And it's not that the character failed, but rather the people running the show never truly understood why he mattered in the first place. And the worst part of it all is that maybe they simply never will.